Hi there folks, and welcome back to the IB and Andy Fishing channel. I hope you're doing really well. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, you really ought to be, so please do that now. Somewhere down here, hit the subs button. You'll be kept in touch with all the news, reviews, fishing and all the other stuff that IB and I get up to. If you are already a subscriber, thank you very much for joining us again. Really appreciate it. Got a really fun one today, and actually it might be a little bit of an exclusive for the IB and Andy Fishing channel, in that we've got a product that I don't think they've even hit the market yet properly, and I'm pretty sure we're the first UK channel to be reviewing this product. You've probably already guessed it from the title of the thumbnail, but IB and I have managed to get our hands on one of the brand new, not even on the market yet, Savage Gear SG4 range of rods. As I say, I think we're the first channel in the UK to get this. Really pleased to have one here, and I've been giving this an absolute battering for the last 2 weeks, so I can let you guys know exactly what I think about this particular rod and give you guys a bit more of an idea about the whole range in general. So as I say, this is the Savage Gear SG4, and this is the 60 to 110 gram HeavyGame heavy in an 8'6". This is a fair old unit. It's a trigger grip, so this is going to be for you guys who throw bigger baits, line 3 trouts, big shads, stuff like that. It's going to be right up your street, particularly if you're fishing from the bank. It's a powerful rod, it's a powerful unit. But there is actually a whole range of SG4 rods. There's over 50 rods in the range, which to me suggests that Savage Gear are probably looking at kind of consolidating their ranges of rods. They've had a lot of different rod ranges over the last 7 or 8 years, and I just wonder whether maybe that means they're starting to just pull things in a little bit and concentrate on core price ranges and core products that are going to sell right the way, not over Europe now, but across the entire world, because they have become one of the world's major players in lure fishing products. There is something for everyone in the range. They start off with ultralight kit, 2 gram casting weights, right the way through to the big dogs throwing up to 220, 250 grams. But I want to concentrate on this rod here. This is the rod that I've been using for the last few weeks. This is the one that I want to focus my attention on. I'm going to let you guys know what I think of the new SG4 60 to 110 HeavyGame. The first kind of striking thing about this particular rod, and actually the whole kind of rod range in general, is that they're quite unusual looking. I don't go too far into rod aesthetics. It really doesn't bother me that much what a fishing rod looks like. To me, they're just tools. I can't think of many instances in the past where I've seen genuinely monotone fishing rods. And other than the break in the handle here, where there's some woven carbon, this rod is almost entirely one colour. The wraps, the blank, the reel seat, it's all in this kind of army olive green. Down here at the butt section, all the markings, again, very minimal. Glossy black lettering, just explaining obviously the brand, the range, and we've got what it is there. So this is HeavyGame 8'6", 259 centimeters, 60 to 110 grams. On the underside, you've got a little bit more information. This is a heavy rod, denoted by the H. It's moderate fast, and the optimum casting weight is 100 grams according to blank, which I found was about right, but we'll get on to that. Obviously, nice comfortable trigger grip. Because this is a heavy rod, I quite like this. It's got a kind of a dual locking system, so the reel foot sits in there, which locks itself, and then the foam then locks down on top of it as well. You do have to move those separately. I haven't found you can do it all in one movement, but because you're throwing big heavy baits with this heavy line, stuff like that, I don't mind that. I think that's sensible. For me, it isn't an issue, because generally once a rod is made up, it just stays made up. I don't pack my rods down at the end of a day's fishing, so that's absolutely fine. The reel seat, they describe as being an alien down locking reel seat, but it looks to me like it's made by Seaguide. Got their little Seaguide logo on there, which is a good sign. They're a good brand. They make good quality fittings for rods, so absolutely cool with that. Foam is very good quality. There's a couple of little dents and stuff in there, but it's actually been very comfortable. It's nice and easy to hold. Coming down, we've got, as discussed earlier, the woven blank on the handle in the carbon, in the glossy carbon rather than the olive green. Then coming down to the butt handle, we've got some grippy kind of inlays in there. Not really sure how to describe that. There's kind of a pattern inlaid into the grip there. It does actually make it a little bit easier to grip. It just gives you something, if you've got wet hands, you can grip onto a little bit better, so that's nice. It's also tapered, that's quite nice. And then on the very bottom end, we've got a little laser engraved butt cap. There is also a keeper ring down there. You'd expect that on any rod, but yeah, it's nice to have it there still. And then going through there up towards the other end, all the guides are based on Savage Gear's CCS, the coil control system, so good quality guides, the guides that they've been using for 5, 6, 7 years. I think everyone knows those by now. So all in all, in terms of fixtures and fittings, pretty well set out actually. It's quite a nice thing. It's all functional, it all works. Everything about this rod is built to take abuse, as it should be for a rod with this casting weight. It's going to take a lot of abuse. One thing I will say is that I really like having the longer handle here. With us throwing heavier baits, you end up using a lot more bottom hand in the cast to make it easier on yourself. IB actually found this a little bit too long, obviously with it being a chick. She's got a slightly shorter arms. I don't think she'll mind me saying that. She found this a little bit too long for her. I really, really liked it because it meant I could really get that left hand involved, get some tip speed and get those lures going further. On the subject of getting lures going further, as I said, I have fished this rod an awful lot in the last 10 days to 2 weeks. I've done absolutely everything onto it, jerk baiting, swim baiting, shads, everything I could possibly throw at the rod. The one thing I haven't done on it is actually catch bloody fish. I don't know about you guys, I am really struggling with my pike at the moment. I've tried everything. I have missed a couple of takes, I've been a little bit unlucky. I've done everything with this rod but actually catch pike on it, but I am going to work on that in the next few days. In terms of actually fishing with it, do you know what? Actually, it's been pretty impressive. I did say to IB at one point, actually, I think it's probably the furthest I've been able to cast some of these heavier baits. You guys know I use the line through trout an awful lot. That's a 20 centimeter moderate sink line through trout. So that's a 98 gram lure. I've never been able to cast one of those things as far as I can with this. My XLNT3 definitely can't throw them as far. I found the tip on this was actually slightly softer than my XLNT3, which I really, really like when it came to throwing the baits. It also means it's a little bit more sensitive as well. And it means you've got that extra ping during the cast. I think that's what's making the difference, to be honest. It just feels slightly more refined in the action. And that ties in perfectly with what they're printed on the back here, with the optimum casting weight being up to 100 grams. That line through trout is 98 grams, so that is absolutely perfect. It makes sense, and that thing absolutely flew. I have done other stuff with it too though. I've done a little bit of jerk baiting with it, so I've been throwing deviators and the freestyler, which are just about in the casting range, only just. I will say it's not a jerk bait rod. Savage Gear rod don't market this as a jerk bait rod. It's too long really for jerk baiting at 8'6", but it can do it if you want. One of the nice things about this rod being very fast in the action, it means it has got enough that you can just give it little taps and you can get a lighter jerk bait gliding quite nicely. I tried this with a few slightly heavier jerkbaits. I must admit it didn't work as well, but as I say, it isn't a jerkbait rod, but it is a rod that you could take with you. And if you think you might throw a jerkbait during the course of the day, you can still do it with this thing, but it isn't a specialist jerkbait rod. There are other rods in the range for that. One thing I was really impressed with was the rod's ability to cast slightly lower weights. When Savage Gear print that the optimum casting weight is 100 grams, that worried me because I thought, well, what's it going to perform like at that lower casting ranges? So I was very keen to give it a go. So I popped on one of the Pike shads. This is a 65 gram lure, so right at the bottom end of the stated casting weight on this thing. And you know what? It absolutely blitzed it. It threw it almost as far as I could with the line through trout. Obviously, it's quite a small, dense bait. I think it just flies like a missile. Again, I was able to throw this a really long way, so really impressed with that. With the lighter range of its casting weight, it did pretty well. I was really impressed with the sensitivity of the SG4. IB and I fish a lake that is predominantly a trout water that has a few pike in it, and there are a number of times where we were feeling little plucks and knocks and stuff, and eventually by the time you've retrieved the lure to the rod tip, you see that actually it was a trout. So to be able to feel that at 50, 60 yards is testament not only to modern braids and stuff like that, but the rod must be very sensitive, so that's really cool. The whole time I've been using it, I've had the rod paired with my Citrix 364, which I think it's about time I did a review on this reel because I've had this now for 2.5 years. I've had no problems at all pairing the rod with the reel. It works really well. As I say, I've achieved distances that I hadn't been able to before. So if you are looking at buying yourself a full setup, Citrix 364 and the SG4 60 to 110 gram, you're not going to be too far off of that. There are a few things I can't tell you about the rod, one of which is what the rod bag looks like. I get the impression this is a pre-production sample, so wouldn't have had a rod bag. I don't have a rod bag for it, so I have no idea what that looks like. As I say, for me, that isn't really a problem because once a rod has been removed from the rod bag, it never goes back in it again, so it really isn't an issue. Savage Gear are pretty good at stuff like that, so I have no doubt the rod bag will be pretty good. I also can't tell you the retail price on the rods because as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been published yet. What I have done is had a quick scoot around on the internet and found a couple of shops doing pre-orders. It looks like this particular rod is retailing about £120, with the expected delivery date being sometime between early and mid-January. I imagine that has been delayed slightly due to the whole COVID situation because usually manufacturers would try and have this stuff on the shelves kind of definitely pre-Christmas, but ideally at the start of the season, so I guess that is just a symptom of the global situation at the moment. It doesn't really matter. It means that if you've had some Christmas money and want to treat yourself to a new rod, there is a range of 53 out there that you can have a look at. In truth, there aren't many things that I dislike about the rod. I think at £120, it's about right. I think that's pretty good money. It's a piece of kit that's going to last you an awful long time. Get loads of use out of it. And I think anyone who buys it is going to enjoy using it, particularly with those heavier baits, with those 100 gram baits. If you're new to throwing those size of baits, there you are. There's a rod that you can go out, pick up, and I can guarantee you it's going to do absolutely everything you want from it. It is quite an unusual looking thing, but it looks pretty cool. I like the matte finish. That's absolutely fine. And the most important thing to me is that the fixtures and fittings are all good quality, and that is absolutely the case in this instance. So there you have it, folks. That is my review of the Savage Gear SG4 8'6", 60 to 110 gram heavy game. As I say, I've done pretty much everything with this rod you would want: jerk baits, swim baits, paddle baits, tail baits, into the wind, with the wind. It's worked absolutely brilliantly with everything. The only thing I haven't done is catch a fish on it, and I'm determined to put that right as soon as possible. The rod isn't out on the market yet. I believe they are coming out at sometime early to mid-January. If I find a affiliate link for any of the rods, we'll put that in the description box below. We'll keep an eye on that and make sure that we can provide you guys with a link. And all that's left for me to say, folks, is thank you very much for watching this review. Really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, give it a like. If you know someone who's in the market for a new rod, please share this review with them. I think it'd be really cool for them to have a look at this. It's definitely going to be one of the major rod ranges on the market, probably for the next 3 or 4 years. Savage Gear are pretty good at holding rods in ranges for a while. I think the Black Savage was in for 5 years or something like that, and this is probably going to replace that eventually. You're going to be hearing a lot about the Savage Gear SG4 range of rods for the foreseeable future. You'll find them in shops. Check them out, give them a go, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Really appreciate it, and I will see you again for some more fishing and stuff. Take care, folks. Bye bye.